Ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere. So you gotta love it, you gotta have passion.
All right, guys, I'm back with another episode, Cents to Dollars. I got the real Queen Margot with me. For those of you that remember from about a year or so, I had her and we did an incredible Instagram live back then.
Yes.
And now we're back in person.
We are.
Which is exciting.
Ooh,
and
cool.
you're like the biggest resource at the moment right now. You got the
Stop.
keys to Miami
You know
and Florida.
I have the keys, I have the cash, I have it all.
Okay,
And
good
I'm here to
setup, by the
spread
way.
it. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm definitely here to spread whatever knowledge I can. Let's do it.
Amazing. So
Let's do
first and foremost, so for those of you watching, I just want to give you a little bit background on her. I've been following you for some time. I know, or I hope you remember the way I came across you, because again, it always ties into the power that I think that social media has and the ability to sort of, you know, for creators, like the power in leveraging your platform and having access to people that normally you probably wouldn't have access to, right? So back in the day, maybe like just over a year ago before we did the live, I saw one of your Instagram reels, right? Which you're big on that stuff, by the way, like incredible.
Thank you.
And you posted this reel and it was just super educational, but super fun at the same time. Hip hop music, the works. And I was like scrolling, I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I hit you up, got you on back then. And I feel like since Florida, Miami specifically, has just been getting super, super hot.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have you back on. So just bring us up to speed. Who are you? What do you do? And like, just your spiel.
Yeah. So I am the general manager of a mortgage brokerage called Financial Triangle. And we specialize mainly in non-traditional mortgages. So basically for foreigners who are looking to invest here in the US, for US investors that are looking for creative sources of financing, whether they don't want to use their tax returns, whether they want to go with their bank statements, whether they don't want to do any income verification because they're buying income generating programs. And since the last we spoke, I've actually been doing a lot more construction, commercial. Yeah, because for whatever reason right now, the larger banks have some really cheaper money for the bigger kind of programs, the construction loans and all of that. When the borrowers are strong and they show that they're going to be capable of, you know, being approved for those kinds of mortgages, they have really great access to programs. So
amazing. So what are you sort of seeing? Are you seeing an influx of people coming from either like out of state, out of country now more than anything?
Yeah. You know, 1 year ago when we spoke, it was much more local, out-of-state investors, people from Michigan, New Jersey, New York, California coming into Florida. But now, very recently, really over the last 60 days or so, all of the Canadians, specifically Canadians, are coming.
Do you know why, though?
Yes.
Have you been keeping up?
I have been keeping up. And there was one article when I saw it, I was like, this is it. Let's go.
Which one?
It was an article basically saying that Canada has shut off all of their investment opportunities for any foreigner trying to purchase.
Yeah, so that's
properties.
actually something that I mean, they proposed it. I do think that they rolled it out, but there's so many more issues going on in the country. I mean, that's just like you're literally scratching the surface with that.
Sure.
But I think the pandemic specifically made Canadians sort of realize, like, you know what? It's very expensive over there, right? At the same time, you're really just, you're stuck at home for a large part of the year. It's cold, it's wintry. And just the political climate has not been great as of late. So now that that's sort of happening, but at the same time, how does it work? Like if a Canadian's watching right now, which obviously they will be, what's step one?
So it's pretty easy, and especially with Canada, because it works similarly to how it does in the States. They have two options. They have a traditional option, which is given by a bank. And right now, Canadians are actually obtaining lower interest rates than American buyers, just because of the type of local banks that are offering programs to foreigners.
Hang on a second. I just want to repeat that. So you're saying Canadian buyers, foreigners, are getting better rates than local Americans in some cases?
Right now, yes. For foreigners that are purchasing investment properties here, they're looking in the 4.5% to 5% range for a traditional mortgage, 30 years, the works, you know. That's with income verification. And right now, for the same type of American that's got 2 years of income, great credit, looking to purchase an investment property, they're like in the mid-fives range as well. So it's very interesting right now for foreigners to be obtaining mortgages.
That's incredible. Now, by the way, and something I want to touch on, and I remember this because I did have some exposure to American mortgages like back in the day. You guys have a product, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's like a 30 over 30. Is that right? Meaning like 30-year term, 30-year amortization?
Yeah, fixed for 30 years, you mean?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So in other words, never changing.
The rate will never change. Correct. Those options are offered for foreigners on the non-traditional side.
Okay.
So that means if you're looking to put 30% down with no income verification, you do have the option to have your interest rate fixed, locked up for 30 years, which is the entire term of the loan. On the traditional side, where you're getting really the best rate in terms for a Canadian, unfortunately right now, they are only fixed up to 7 years. You can have the rate locked up for 7 years.
And that's
max.
so you're saying that's for like a traditional source deal,
Traditional
meaning
sourced.
income verification.
Yep.
And just to speak to that a little bit, what would like traditional income verification look like here for a foreigner?
Yeah, so it's much more simple than I think people would imagine.
Yeah.
Thank God we're not having to source your last 2 years of tax returns in Canada, even though we could because it would be as simple. But we just ask for, if you're self-employed, we'll ask for a CPA letter. And it's quite simple because we give you exactly the template of what exactly we need written.
Okay.
And if you're an employee, an employer letter. Very
That's
simple.
it. So
One
that's, wait a
document,
second. So that's income verification.
That's income verification.
A letter from an accountant.
Correct.
Basically verifying for somebody that's self-employed how much income they're making.
So Mickey made X amount in 2019. He made this amount in 2020, and 2021 looks like this.
Wild. So, okay. So that's traditional. So
Yeah.
what's non-traditional then?
So non-traditional, we don't need that income letter at all. We don't really verify your credit or anything really. What we're going to do is just make sure that you've got minimum of 30% down. And since you're purchasing an investment property, we're going to do two things. Either we'll check the income that will come in from the property and we'll use that as your income. Or if whatever reason you're willing to pay a little bit more on the interest rate for whatever reason, if the property is not cash flowing, we could just disregard that as well. So it's
wow. So I mean, it's
creative.
Basically like mortgages almost for anybody.
As long as you have the assets,
Right.
and as long as the property is appraising.
Got you. So in other words, so say we have a Canadian, obviously some income challenges. Let's say they can't get that letter.
Yep.
So to your point, what is the down payment? In either case, actually, what's the down payment scenario like?
So if you're Canadian and you don't want to show me any income, it's too complicated. You don't want to ask your CPA. You don't want to bother your employer.
Yeah.
You have 30% down. We're good to go.
That's it.
That's it. It's very simple.
Wow. Okay. And what's closing like cost related closing costs?
Cost related, it can be about like 3.5% of the purchase price would be what your total average closing fees can look like for a deal. Yeah.
So, okay. So, I mean, let's just say to be safe, right? Just better to be safe than sorry. Typically 35% down in totality for the down payment and whatever potential closing costs as a contingency.
Correct. On the traditional side, you can put as low as 25% down. But because it's traditional, they do ask to see that you have reserves on the side. So they like to see like 6 months of reserves in Canada and like 6 months of reserves in the US. But
so in each?
On the traditional side.
Right. Where do you actually see most people falling into, like when you get clients that come in from Canada?
You know what? Because of the simplicity of just like, oh, it's that easy. Okay, non-traditional because it's like 5% more difference. For the investors, the stronger clients that are used to doing traditional banking and have banking relationships, they love that, obviously, the 25% option because you have such a great interest rate.
So for the I want to make sure we're super clear because I know a lot, like especially nowadays, right? Everybody's super excited to hear about this sort of information. Yeah. Traditional financing is 25% down?
Minimum, yes.
Minimum, okay.
Yes.
Depending on the strength of the file, overall, stuff like that.
25% minimum for foreigners under the traditional. You're going to get a rate in the 5 or under, which is really great. We will need to see income. We will need to see reserves. If you want to avoid all that good stuff, you really just want to buy something, 30% down, no questions asked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. What do you, I mean, I would think that the market's probably super hot here now.
The market is insane at the moment. I know that when listings are coming on the market, they're not lasting more than hours with, multiple offers behind it. I have a client who purchases like one property every few months in the 1.2 to 1.4 million range. And for the last 3 months, he's been completely outbid by anything coming in the way. Yeah, which is just absolutely insane.
Has it, I'm assuming it's gotten hotter since we spoke last?
Yeah, being honest here, imagine the people that are in that 450 to 750, which is
the sweet spot, really.
The normal spot, for first-time home buyers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know what? I feel you because, and I think I told you this last time. I mean, I know you're saying it's tough, but believe you me, we have war stories when it comes to what's going on in Toronto. It's insane. I mean, maybe you guys could relate to it now. It's been like this for the last little while. Our market actually started to break a little bit in the last month or so. So our market started to come down,
Okay.
believe it or not. Yeah, because rates went up.
But
People are now getting scared.
Everyone's thinking the same thing. Like I get comments all the time, like, "Oh, it's not going to last long. The rates are going up."
Yeah.
The rates are going up, but it doesn't matter. The demand is still there, which is what's insane. It's like the prices keep going up, the interest rates keep going up, but at the end of the day, the U.S. and Florida in particular
Yeah.
is the safest place to put your money. I have a
For sure.
client right now. We have been able to refi cash out every
Yeah.
year his property because of how much equity he's gained. And just in the last 12 months alone, he gained $800,000 in equity that we're now
What?
pulling back
Wow.
out once again, and he can now purchase another property. So it's just like the amount of equity, like
Yeah, no,
Florida right now
absolutely.
is so equity rich that
Yeah.
it doesn't matter the price of the interest rate or what it is. They just want a piece of it. They need to get in on it because
Of
it's
course.
such an amazing
It's
investment.
so funny that you brought that up because you know what? It seems like our markets have sort of, not exactly, but for the most part, as a trend, have sort of run parallel, I would say, in the sense that both have gone hot, specifically during the pandemic. And it's like, what the hell's actually going on? It seems like it'll never break. The main difference, and I try to tell this to as many people as I can because they don't know, and it kind of goes back to this 30-year term that you guys have. We don't have that.
Oh,
So like for you guys, I think, and correct me here, but for a lot of people, or maybe if they have a high DTI, right? I think that's what you would call it, like a debt to service ratio. I think what happens is, would they push them into that type of product because of the potential risk? Like, are they doing anything like that? Like, or are just people simply choosing that?
the 30-year option, sometimes it's not really a choice.
Okay.
And every bank is different. Like
Yeah.
every bank is just different. They price it differently.
Right.
So sometimes you'll have the option of the 30-year fixed, and seeing the way that the rates are going, yes, people choose that option.
Mhm.
And then other people, they know that they're not going to hold the property for more than 3 to 5 years. You know?
Right.
So they'll just kind of go with the cheaper option, which is sometimes going with a shorter term, 3 years, 5 years,
Do
7
you
years.
guys like? Because again, I hear things. I'm not sure if it's true or not. So it's great to have someone like you here that's knowledgeable and would know. Do you guys penalize for breaking mortgage terms? I assume.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what does that look like potentially?
I mean, again, and we're speaking here in
Broadly,
terms of,
super broadly.
not even just broadly, but the prepayment penalty is
Yeah.
only for foreigner second home investment properties.
Really?
If you're an American and you're purchasing your primary, you
Yeah.
do not have a prepayment penalty.
Wow. So hang on a second. Say I'm a national here. I live here, citizen, the whole works. I buy a property, get a mortgage, get the 30-year because I don't want to deal with the potential, the rise of interest rates. It's cyclical, it'll happen. It's just a matter of time. So someone like that, no matter what's going on in the market, at any point theoretically they could refinance for a better rate, penalty free.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. The thing is, after 2008 and the
Yeah.
2010 crisis, all of the laws that came into place were called consumer protection laws.
Yep.
So majority of all of the laws and regulations that are currently in place on mortgages are really only set for U.S. residents purchasing their primary homes.
Got it.
Anything else, investment properties, second homes, it's the Wild West out there.
Yeah, you know what?
So-
I'll be honest. Like, I agree with that. I think it's great, and I'll tell you why. Like in Canada, it's a 5-year term. In essence, our entire book of mortgages, like as a country, the entire thing in reality is an adjustable rate mortgage because the most common and I would say by far the most popular of the mortgage types that we have in terms of terms are the 5-year, meaning
Yeah.
every 5 years it comes up for maturity and you're subject to what's going on in
Yeah.
the market, especially people now that got in at a very low rate. Market's gone up quite a bit. What happens then? So that's
Yeah.
the risk I feel like that we're starting to sort of see materialize now, but that's almost non-existent, and that kind of gives way or at minimum creates this solid foundation of value where I don't think your market could theoretically pop like it did in 08. I don't think so.
Correct. And I think that when people say, oh, there's a recession coming and a housing crisis coming, maybe, but it's not going to happen from the mortgage side.
No.
I can tell you that for sure
No.
because everyone is making their payments. And if they couldn't make their payments, they were able to make an agreement with the bank and have, their payments deferred and do everything properly.
And they're still
So-
doing that sort of thing? Like they're still understanding?
Not that I know of anymore because everything is back and rolling. Everyone's making
Yeah,
money
yeah,
at
yeah.
this point. But if for whatever reason, you have leeway, the banks work with you and they want you
Amazing.
to make your payments. They want you to keep your mortgage. It's not good for them for you to be in foreclosure.
Of course.
So yeah, when it comes to mortgage, like security, it's a very stable
Yeah.
investment to
Yeah.
have for sure.
And speaking of investments, because you've mentioned this a lot, and I think a big part of your clients, like you've said, are actually investors, right?
Yeah, 99% of my clients are investors.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love to hear it because in Canada, I mean, dude, it's like we got to go through a fine brush to find value, right? Like, or at least something that's cash flow positive. You got to be very creative.
Yep.
Or maybe look at Airbnb, which I know is possible here as well. But like from your side of things, what kind of plays are you seeing happen?
Okay, I'm actually really happy that you asked that because more recently, in terms of cash flow properties, it has become much more difficult than before, especially in Florida. The property insurances and the taxes have gone up drastically.
Property tax and insurance on the property?
Yes.
Okay.
The property insurance has actually gone up more than I've ever really seen before, and that is obviously eating at the profits.
Right.
And people don't understand. Sometimes they think, oh my God, Florida, it's amazing. I'm like, it is amazing. It's true. We don't have any state income tax, but we are going to pay it in the property taxes. So be ready for that.
So what does that look like? Like, what does property tax look like for you guys? Because I've heard some things. Again, I love this because we could sort of confirm what's real and what's not. But from your side, what is it?
It can roughly range between like 1.5% of the property purchase, property value. But so that has gone up. However, the banks and investors and private lenders are aware of those kinds of things. And so they have created programs. And again, something that's really cool with the mortgage industry, especially on the non-traditional side, is that we are so custom. We can really make it extremely creative and like, oh, you don't want a prepayment penalty? Oh, you want 30 years?
Yeah.
Oh, you want this rate? Oh, okay, no problem. We can structure it for you. And so they have really created programs specifically for properties that are not cash flowing.
Okay.
Because they know that though it may not cash flow on paper, you may have a more creative outlook to it. You may do short term, you may do other things.
Right.
And the property is still a good investment and it's still going to raise equity.
Right.
So there are programs now specifically to help you purchase properties.
Programs
that are not
from the
cash flowing.
perspective of like a lender?
Yeah. They're literally called no ratio.
Really?
Yeah. So you either have no income verification in that realm where we're not going to check your income, but there's two ways of going about it. Either the property is cash flowing, and therefore you're going to get a little bit of a lower interest rate because the bank can see the property can generate enough to pay the property. If the property is not cash flowing, then you now can go into a no ratio option, which is great because before, if the property wasn't cash flowing, you had to put more money down
to sort of balance that.
To balance that debt to service coverage ratio.
Interesting.
Now they've gotten rid of that completely.
Do you think, like, okay, so if we're speaking to an investor, and this is how I sort of see it playing out, because there's going to be a combination of two types of people that I think you would see coming from Canada.
Yeah.
One, obviously, again, I say the refinance option. The only thing is those people I think are going to start to, kind of wane off a bit because rates have gone up, prices have slightly come down.
Unless it's cash. So I was having this conversation yesterday with a client. Yeah. He was like, yeah, but the rates have gone up. I don't know if I want it. And I'm like, but you're pulling how much cash out? And what are you going to do with that cash? Yeah, so you really don't care what the interest rate is because you want that cash.
No,
There's
for
no
sure.
other way for you to get it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at it like that, then if you were somebody that was coming from Canada, where are you investing area-wise from what you're seeing? Like, what's the area? What type of property type would you say would have the best bang for buck, so to speak?
The best bang for buck is the 1 to 4 unit property. If you can.
Oh, really?
Do not buy a condo. I know you want the condo life. I get it, but it's a no-go on the condo. Like, don't do it.
Okay, why though? Why, really?
Listen, because the condos, if you take a look at the skyline here in Miami, you're going to notice there's quite a lot of of.
Yeah.
Therefore,
you think there's an oversupply of condos?
There's a little bit of an oversupply with the condos.
Right.
You're going to have restrictions when it comes to wanting to rent out your apartment in certain ways. Not all buildings allow short-term rentals.
Oh, no?
The HOAs can go up. If they decide to redo the pool or the elevator breaks, you're going to have an assessment. It's all these extra additives that are eating at your profit.
For sure.
So if you're an investor and you're coming here from out of state, out of country, from Canada, you want to put your money in a 1 to 4 unit. If it's going to be a single family. I love
those, by the way.
They're the best. But especially the 2, 3, 4 units.
Yeah.
You get the same type of financing as if it was like a house.
Yeah,
because
it's residential.
Use up to 75% of the income that's coming from the other units.
Really? To help service the cost of the mortgage.
Correct.
Wow, it's amazing. And let me ask you this, and I know obviously, don't worry about being super specific. Again, just broad to get people thinking. for something like that,
Yeah.
that would make sense.
Yeah.
What are we looking or thinking when it comes to price point, give or take, roughly? You don't have, nobody's holding a gun to your head.
I personally am looking for a 4-unit.
Are you?
Yeah.
Got it, girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I know that like in an area where you're in like a North Miami area, so it's still up and coming, and you're still gonna have to put a little bit of money into the property so that you can get really some top dollar, like right under $1 million in that 800,000
Okay.
range. You can get like 2, 3, 4 units, but
Okay.
you're gonna have to put some work into it for sure.
That's okay. I think that's the better way to go anyways, to kind of go in, cosmetically upgrade it, and then raise
It depends
rents.
your level, you know.
Yeah.
Like there's a building that I'm working on, and I've actually refinanced it 3 times for the purchase, twice on the refinance and the construction. And it's a
Nice.
4-unit building in South Beach, in Miami Beach. You can walk to Lincoln Road, walk to the beach. And that investor applied for a short-term rental license and
Okay.
basically converted this 4-unit
Into like a hotel. Yeah,
Yes.
that's sick. You know
and
what's
the
fun?
guy's making almost like $250,000 a year just
Wow.
from, you know what I mean? So it really depends your
So,
level.
that-
So for that, you're
Mhm.
looking in the 3 million range.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, speaking to the foreign national thing, traditional financing.
It's a foreign national who owns that building, by
Of
the
course,
way, a
yeah,
French
of course,
guy. You know,
of course.
so
Why
it's-
not?
Yeah.
Makes sense. It's a solid,
So
safe
that's why
market.
I'm like, it depends your level.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more you invest, the more you're going to get out into
Absolutely.
it. But there's still some
Value
good,
out
yeah,
there?
Yeah,
I
there's
would
still some
think
good
so.
things out
I
there.
mean, again, I hate to say it, but like kind of one of the reasons that we came out here was for that reason. Like,
Yeah.
it's not just this stuff. It's also to kind of say, hey, wait a second. There's
Yeah.
stuff going on here that might make a little more sense than what we've got going on back home.
Yeah.
So far, it looks like it. And I think for you, because, you're familiar with what's going on here and you're seeing that reality and you're probably, it's like whatever. Try looking at where we're at. It'll
Well,
blow your mind.
The thing is, so now I do business in about 47 states.
Okay, good
Okay.
point. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I've seen some shit.
Have you? Okay, good.
But Florida is still the number one.
Out of
in
all
terms
the 47 states
out
you're
of all
in
the
and
40,
working
the
in?
most demands, the most
course.
closings. I mean, the most, bets coming in behind, like offers on one property. I'm like, this is crazy.
Wild.
Texas is like number 2 for sure.
For sure.
Insane.
Yeah, and that's
Insane.
anytime I talk to somebody, like at least back home,
Yeah.
first of all, everybody back home's talking about or thinking about like how to get out.
Yeah.
And then the natural point, the next thing is where. And then it's always either Miami, like Florida, or Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've heard a lot of corporations, businesses, and that sort of thing have actually uprooted from places like California and they've
Yeah.
come here now.
Here, they moved to Texas a couple years
Yeah.
ago, and now they're all kind of merging up to about North Carolina.
Really? Interesting. Yeah, because, back in the day, like when we used to come here and
Yeah.
we would come here often, it was always great. It was always a place where like, man, I wish I could fucking live there. It's so cool. But the problem was it was never like we didn't see people making money here. It's always like people with money
Like
that
transient.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like people with money would come here and it was like a playground in a sense. But
Yep.
now, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm starting to notice that it's more people that actually are making money locally and there's more of a local economy happening and it's strong. And that's a thing now, apparently.
Absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want to live here?
I know.
And actually, we were speaking about it with my broker, and we were just thinking about it. We're like, think about it. If you come from any other state, like New York or California, you make like 100 to 200 grand a year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like 20K, give or take, like if
Yeah.
every 100K that you're saving in your
Yeah.
pocket, if you're coming from a state that has 17% income tax, 14% in California. So it's just like naturally they're saving so much money
Wild.
living here. The housing is cheaper, the weather is better.
It's almost like we're doing a commercial for the state of
I
Florida.
know,
I
I
feel
know.
like we
Pay
should get paid
us.
for this.
I
Yes.
I
But you know
know.
what? It's so easy to sell because
Yeah.
it's true. It's all here. And
Yeah.
I love that about this place. And that's so good to know. And so, okay, we covered that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy to get through all of that stuff. And obviously, anybody that's interested or considering it, she's your go-to person. Very simple. She's my go-to person. Anybody that's, interested in getting more or answers to some of the questions or we
Yes.
may have missed something, please direct it to her. But I want to move on to other stuff with you as well
Definitely.
because I think we have a lot of similarities in this department. I've obviously seen your stuff and we've talked about this. I know you have like a creative passion. Obviously, I could
Yes.
tell with the way you dress. I think it's
Yes.
so cool. How did that happen? Walk us through it. Where did this start? Where did it come from?
Yeah.
And more importantly, where does it go?
So it all started, I guess, when I was 14, and I started my first job in the fashion industry. Got recruited as a summer intern position at American Apparel, and worked my way up from there, and really fell in love with all things fashion, and was more so on the merchandising side. So business of fashion, product placement, product knowledge, so I can understand how to better sell a product. And that kind of like expanded my mind into sales. And once I went into the University of Art and I started to do more fashion merchandising courses and stuff, I started to really fall in love with more so the business side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was realizing like, wow, I mean, this ladder that I have to climb is really high before I get to the lifestyle and the financial freedom that I really want. And I then slowly transitioned myself into, I guess, a big girl job, if you will.
Yeah, adulting.
Yeah, exactly. And, because I was more so like, well, what do I want? I want this certain life and this job that I have, this career. I don't see that happening for me. My parents were in the mortgage and real estate world.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was something that I was always like, no, I don't want to do what my parents
Yeah,
do.
because
Like,
it feels like
weird.
there's such different worlds, fashion and
Completely.
mortgages. It's
Completely. And I also didn't see like where I was going to fit in properly. And then I started to get intrigued into real estate shows like $1 Million Listing and all of that. And I noticed there was no females in the cast. The only just recently they added Tracy Tudor a couple of years ago.
But you know what? And I'll add to what you just said. I did notice that too. And the times that they would have female characters on those shows, again, from my perspective, I felt like they were very overly sexualized.
Yeah.
And that's what was being put forth. And it wasn't like a strong, empowered woman that had knowledge and could do the job of what the guys were doing.
Exactly. And so when I made the decision, I was like, okay, real estate or mortgages? And I was like, well, in the real estate, I saw there was almost like an oversaturation of agents that had 20, 30, 40, 50 years of experience. And it just seemed a little bit too difficult to penetrate and to like make it where I wanted to be. Whereas I thought in the mortgage side, I was going to have an advantage where I can know a product so well that I can sell it. And if I can sell it, then like we're going to be in a good position here. But it was just like, I felt it was easier to sell money to people that needed a home than to sell a home to someone who didn't have the money to buy it. So I thought that I was going to have just more of a competitive advantage. And then when I joined the industry, little by little, I was like, there's no one like me in the industry. And I just started to really merge myself into the industry, if you will.
Yeah.
And I still didn't really find like a good spot for myself until I started like networking and, building my referral network, the agents that I was hanging out with, the first clients that I started to get. And I started to really specialize myself in like young entrepreneurs that were looking for creative sources of financing. And little by little, I built a really great pipeline, which quickly shut down during the pandemic. And that's when the creative side, I was like, I have to put everything of myself like
out there.
This is it. It's now or never.
Yeah.
So that's when like the fashion videos and all of the ideas of content that I had. I mean, I was like, you have nothing to lose, sis. You have all this time. Let's just do it. I bought an $80 ring light and it just kind of like popped off from there. My brother had showed it to me TikTok on a ski trip. Yeah. And on a few nights, it was like snowing in. We had nothing to do. And we were just like learning these fucking stupid TikTok dances. And at the time, I'm like, this was my training.
Yeah, this is it.
This is it. And it really kind of slowly.
How did it feel the first time, though, when you went on camera? Because I know looking at, like, when I watch your stuff now, and all of you guys, when you do follow, it's not even a question of if you will, you'll notice the stuff you're putting out, it just seems so... it's very well curated, like the whole page and the stuff that you're doing. But at the same time, like, it's almost as if it's good because it's high quality, and it also looks like there's little to no actual effort on your part, even though the result looks incredible. So I think that could intimidate a lot of people.
It's what made me feel more comfortable. Like I was getting ready every day during the pandemic, like makeup and everything as if I was going to my office. I was going into my like home office. And one day I remember going into my emails and I was like, is there reload? Fuck, there's no emails. What do I do? And I remember just taking my phone and plopping it right there and just like doing, a video of like a relatable situation. And that just like made me more comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, still this is intimidating. All these cameras and microphones. I'm like,
where do I look?
Like
There's
it's
so
weird.
many.
Like I don't do that. So so for me, it was like that's how I just was comfortable. Was just like just being a clown.
Did it hit the first time though? Like that first one you put out? Like first of all, like when you first set it up and you put the camera,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you remember that specific moment, but did it just click or did it take time?
As soon as I posted it and I saw that there was like 3,000 views, which for me, that
Wow.
was like enormous, you know? So I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, it's working. And I got an email like hours within posting it. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, my credit, da-da-da-da. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Holy
So you're
shit.
trying to tell me that if I just do this for fun, naturally I'm
Yeah.
going to get business?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try this, you know? And then I remember waking up the next day and being like, today is the day we are creating content. Like I am now a content creator, you know? And that day I created 5 videos.
Holy shit.
And those 5 videos went viral because
Each one?
Each one. And it was like, I remember posting it and being like, okay, I have a good feeling about it. And in 1 hour, that one did like 50,000, 200, 250. And it just kept going and going.
Wow.
And progressively, each one after it, I was like timing it. And I was just really starting to break apart the algorithm.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this algorithm my bitch. I need to figure
love
this
that.
out. I need to see who are the creators. What are they doing? What else is on here?
Wow.
And I was like, there's no female in the mortgages. There's only one guy in mortgages. There's very little in real estate. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And I just started to literally find what was missing in the space and created what was missing. And the rest is history.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. And by the way, just so like when you figured out that there's nobody else doing it, how do you, and this is what I see, by the way, and I'll admit this and I'll put it out there. I haven't been the biggest fan of TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm not on there, to be honest.
Yep.
I tried it. I was like, man, like I told you, like
Yep.
short form for me has always been a little bit of a challenge. I'm doing my best now to sort of do more of it. But do you see, like, because here's the thing that I see with your posts. So your posts are not only educational, they're fun.
Yeah.
And
I
I
call
think-
it edutainment.
There you go. I'm not going to try and say that now,
Yeah.
but I got you. But the thing is, like, I see a lot of people not being able to balance the two. And so what ends up happening, it's more like entertainment
Yeah.
while lacking substance. And
Yep.
ultimately, I think we have a responsibility because there's a lack of financial literacy. And we've talked
Yes.
about this a bunch off camera. And so it's sort of our duty, being as representatives of this industry and beyond, to sort of be that bridge.
Yeah.
So how do you find a way to mix the two to keep it fun and entertaining and not boring? Because mortgages could be boring, right?
Well, you know, going back to exactly your point, because this happens all the time. I hire new agents. I have new agents in my company, and it worked for me because it was natural to me.
Right.
What you do works for you because that's what's natural to
Yes.
you. You're not going to come and try and do my
I mean, I
entertainment.
could.
You could
It'll
try,
be
but
fucking
it,
hard, but like,
but
yeah.
like for me, like it felt natural.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't trying. And so I
Yeah.
think if anyone is going to have to like try, that's where it's going to become an issue. You have to find something that feels
course.
right and natural to you
course.
because immediately the viewer is going to be able to feel it. They can
Yeah.
sense it
Yeah.
within a millisecond if it's organic or not.
Mhm.
And so that's where it becomes difficult, where it's like, I don't really think it's up to me or up to you to tell anyone how to do it, but they need to find what they know best
Mhm.
and become a specialist at what they want to really be the
Mhm.
specialist of. Like, I know a lot of things in mortgages, but I choose to specifically talk about investment properties, foreigners, non-traditional, so
Right.
that, you know, I have my niche, my specialty. I'm the queen of my niche, you know,
Yeah.
exactly what I do,
Yeah.
you know? So I think it's up to the creators, because I think now anyone who's in sales, like we're all basically creators, you know,
Absolutely.
in this new economy,
Yeah.
in this new way.
For sure.
If you're not organically creating the content to, you know, better service what you do, you're going to lack substance in terms of like real organic relationships and people knowing what you do. So I just think you have to find like what you like, which I know kind of sounds
no,
maybe
it's-
not the best to say. 'Cause
no,
it's
no,
like,
it's true.
figure it
though.
out. But
yeah,
you
no,
know,
no, but you're right. That's really what life's about, right? And I think we spend a lot of time in life sort of because it's easier to sort of replicate or observe someone else and then try to make it our own because it's the simplest way to kind of get something out there, right? To sit in one spot and sort of think, okay, who am I? What's my personality type in the sense of like, how far and how vulnerable am I willing to be with an audience?
Yeah.
Because I think that scares people,
Yeah.
right? So we have this facade almost sort of that we create. And like you said, people read through that shit.
yeah. But also, for example, when I saw, so there was a guy doing mortgages, creating mortgage content, but I just felt, and I really liked it. And I remember seeing it and it was like, I specifically saying to myself, I could recreate this in my own way.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. If you see something that's working, that's going viral, I invite you to try to recreate that in your own way.
For sure.
Because even if you copy exactly what I did, it's going to be different because it's you. It's
sure.
your touch and your
Yeah.
spin on it. Maybe it's your different information, you know?
Yeah.
So the thing with TikTok that I did learn a lot from TikTok was if you see a trend, it's okay to like try to not, copy, but
Yeah.
recreate it, put your own spin on it. You know how they say, like, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Absolutely.
Just try it.
Yeah.
Try it. Because you don't know until you try it. So
For sure.
yeah, but just like think, like, what do I like to do? How do I like to express myself? Is it dance? Is it music? Is it video? Is it comedy? And then you can, put your own spin on it.
Right.
But I don't feel comfortable necessarily speaking to a camera. Like that's
Like naturally. But
like
it's
naturally.
it's like something that you sort of, I guess, teach yourself to get used to, right? But it's almost weird. It's like for myself too, like I love just having these conversations
Yeah.
because by the way, not everybody's like this.
Yeah.
Right? You try to have these conversations like when you go out dinner or whatever with
True.
other people, even friends, and it's just like they don't know what the fuck you're talking about, how you're thinking about things. And it's like something that I think is limited to creatives. And I think that, and you might agree with this too, like when I got in the business, probably the same as you, like businesses would run ads on Google. That was a big part of the budget for marketing.
Yeah.
Today, I don't think that's the case.
Paid ads, in my opinion, is a thing of the past because
Right.
unfortunately, if someone sees an ad, they know it's an ad.
Yeah.
It's already done.
Yeah.
It's done. They know it's an ad. They're
Yeah.
being sold on something. They don't want it.
Yeah.
And so when you're creating organic content that you feel good about, that you're going to make sure someone else feels good about it,
Right.
they're going to want to either follow you or engage with the content or contact you because they genuinely want to and they were not expecting to be
Yes.
sold on you.
And it's very
Yeah.
interesting that you said, man, I fucking love these conversations. You have no idea, for real. But like, so back to the Google thing.
Yeah.
Like if we look at things, right? I don't think people are really using Google anymore to search for things because I think we're on autopilot, right? We kind of go on our phones and we go from apps like Instagram, Twitter, maybe Snapchat, even whatever, like mainly the socials and and TikTok, obviously. And these are the places we spend most of our time. This is the most dominant real estate on your phone. That's where discovery happens.
Yeah.
And I think TikTok is great as much as it's like not something that I particularly love, but I think you succeed in it and people like you succeed in it because they have an explore page or the For You page,
Yes.
which is got like sort of an algorithm.
It's
Right?
by far the most advanced algorithm that I've ever seen, and it freaks me.
It
the
is
fuck
fucking
out
freaky.
because
I'll
it's
say
like,
that. Yeah.
It's quite literally designed for you.
Yeah,
If
it's
it
like-
hears us talking about this, the next thing I know on my For You page is going to be podcast content, real estate content, creator content. And it's really freaky the way it does
Yeah.
that. Whereas Instagram has actually become more so of a search engine type
Yes.
of tool.
Yep.
And many times I've gotten, I typed in mortgages.
Yeah.
I typed in mortgage broker. I typed in non-traditional. And you were number 2, number 3, number 4
Really?
that popped
People-
up on
people
all
are
of
saying
Instagram.
this to you?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
they really are using it like the new
So I was
Google.
like, you did what? You typed in mortgages? That was
fucked.
the 4th one to pop up? That's
Yeah.
pretty crazy. Like,
I heard that when I first started the old page I had, which is the new page, but we had a different brand and it was mortgage approved and the name, right? I wanted to use my name, but the name that I had at that time was actually Mortgage Broker Ontario for the province that we're in. And I did that because I think you know this too, because of the search engine
Yes.
aspect. I'm just surprised that this is actually what's going on.
yeah.
Right?
And that's the thing. And I think that, like we were talking about Google and all of that, Google, the reason why it was so powerful was because they understood search keywords and search engine and SEO. Well, Instagram with their hashtags and creating content specifically about the service that you want to be talking about will allow you to rank up really high
within that service.
that kind of
Wow.
service hashtag or trending word. So the reason why if you type in mortgages on Instagram and I pop up is because if you look at all my content that has millions of views,
Man.
mortgages
Say it
in there.
again.
You know what
Say
I mean?
it again. That's
millions of views.
That must be a good fucking feeling, man.
It's pretty cool though. I'm not gonna lie. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I watch the content and I'm like, it's pretty amazing to
Do
me.
you obsess over your content? Like I just want to know if I'm weird. Like, do you go back and like look at it? And,
I
like,
do. And
you?
I think
Okay,
that
I'm not
people
the-
that,
yeah.
oh my God, I remember being on
Okay.
a Clubhouse discussion one time and this guy was giving advice to this agent who was like, I want to learn how to start new content. but I don't like seeing myself or hearing myself in videos. It makes me cringe.
Yeah.
And the guy said to her, and I was like, what? He was like, yeah, you don't even need to listen to your videos. Like, just post it and you don't have to ever watch back. And I was like, excuse me.
Yeah.
If you are not your number one biggest fan, if
Yeah.
you don't fuck with your videos, if you're not
How
laughing
could
at
anybody
how
else?
could anyone else be like, this
100%.
is the best video ever?
Yeah.
They're going to think the same
Yeah.
thing you think. Oh, this
Yeah.
is cringy and awful
Yeah.
and awkward.
But also, how else are you supposed to evolve as a creator? Because like, if I go back to the first like videos I did, dude, I can't. Like, I mean, I do just like when I feel down about the current stuff that I'm doing. Because
Yeah.
you do become a little bit of a perfectionist. I feel like. Again, I'm happy that you're agreeing with this. I thought I was nuts for this, but yeah, you become a little bit of a perfectionist, and then sometimes you go back and you're like, okay, so I used to do shit like this, which was shit. And then you start to sort of see that progression naturally, that sort of evolution happen. But even when I put out a video now and I've already posted, and by the way, I'll watch my shit like 1,000 times before I post it. Like,
Yeah.
it's part of the process. I still find things.
See, now I am even more relaxed about it.
That's
Like-
good. How do we do
like,
that?
If I'm taking like 3 takes, I'm like, fuck that. It's
That's
not natural. It's not good. It's not gonna flow.
Mhm.
Like I have learned to not care so much
Yeah.
about perfection because people don't really see that. Like
That's what I
again,
was gonna ask
it's
next.
organic.
Yeah.
It has to be
Do
natural.
you
There's no way
find
it's
you're getting better
perfect.
engagement on the stuff that you're just like not really caring about? You're just like posting
The
whatever?
stuff that goes most viral is the stuff that I do on accident.
Really?
Like
That's crazy. Fuck.
so sometimes it's difficult, when you're like creating content as a creator and you're like, what am I going to create? I want
Yeah.
whatever happens. Like,
Yeah.
it's the energy that you put into it. But even just speaking about like creators, like the last thing I'll say as like a great advice, me personally, especially with the kind of jobs that we do, how do you balance like such a crazy job and the content creation, which is in itself a whole job of its own?
100%.
I'm a big person when it comes to batching content. So
Really?
throughout the week, I'll watch stuff on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever. I'll send it to myself in a private chat.
Okay.
And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll go through all my videos and I'll see which ones do I want to recreate.
Gotcha.
And then I'll spend hours recreating the videos, filming them, and then editing them.
So
and having them ready for the
basically,
week.
you sort of get your ideas, let's say, earlier in the week.
Yeah, like the ideas, they have to come to you naturally.
Yeah,
You can't say, I'm
you
going
have
to
those
sit down
moments,
and
yeah.
get ideas. That's never going to work. So that's why you pick your days where you're going to create,
Mhm.
to go back to all of the things that like came to you during the week
Right.
for inspiration.
Mhm.
And I am someone who still like recreates things. I'll watch Harry Potter and be like, I should recreate that scene and make us all mortgage brokers. Like,
Yeah. No, that's cool though, but that's what makes it different.
Yeah.
Because again, like, I'm a student of content, as you are, and I'm on all the platforms, really just studying it because I think we're all in this place where we want to crack this fucking algorithm. We want
Yeah.
to crack what works, what doesn't. And I really observe what's out there. And if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to figure it out. And a lot of the content that I see, specifically in our industry, I don't
Yep.
want to say this out loud, but fuck it. Like, it's boring.
It's boring.
It's fucking boring.
boring.
Right?
Let it be boring so that our
Yeah, no,
content
I
can
know,
pop
but like
off.
it's almost like how did some people? I'm seeing an evolution now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
seeing people that I've never thought would get into video,
Yeah.
that would never get creative. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, I guess they're getting pulled into this tide. But yeah, like I still see people like for real estate, for example, they're still posting stats, straight stats from the brokerage. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Like those
Yep.
just cookie cutter stats. And there's no comprehension from the consumer side because how the fuck are they supposed to know the details and what certain things mean, right?
Yes.
Unless it's easily explained to them. And by the way, I think you noticed this too. Instagram actually did an algorithm update recently, I think. Again, did you hear about that?
They're always doing algorithm updates.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But it's kind of to our favor because they're going to be like a shorter video platform similar to YouTube. That's kind of what they're going for now. So instead of photos, how they started out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's all video heavy now. It's
Yeah.
all supposed to be reels.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very creator focused, which is good. But again, I think that we live in a world where we lack, not us particularly, thankfully, we got blessed to be in this position with the careers we have. But yeah, we live in a world where financial illiteracy rates are very high.
Yep.
And it's not related or correlated to educational levels, which is the sad thing. It's not like, I've come across very smart people, as you do.
Yeah.
They don't know much about what this side of stuff is like. And yeah.
It definitely is up to us to put the right information out there. But I will say, for me in particular, who creates such specific type of educational content, I believe that there has been a big difference, at least in the last 2 years, with the amount of creators that have created finance content.
Yeah.
And now, actually, a lot of the people that come to me, they already have really good knowledge and like,
Okay.
oh, I did my research. I know about DSCR loans. I know about this. I know about that, which is very great. It's fantastic. And it's definitely to say like more information is being put on the internet. People are consuming it.
Yes.
You know, so that is good. Just make good content.
Exactly. No, but that honestly, it makes me happy to see, and I encourage people to do it. I
Yeah.
don't feel competition in that
No,
end,
no.
and when I see it, it makes me happy because I want the consumer to win. I want people to understand. I want financial literacy to be a common thing, not a rare thing, how it's been.
Yep.
And I think that only continues to help evolve our current paths into the future. And we spoke about this before. I don't know if you remember, but I've always been a fan of creating courses, especially with stuff like we're kind of doing and using media as a tool to sort of help educate and doing it in a cool way, because the school system sucks. They're not going to teach you this shit.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you the details. You're going to get bored. Schooling is done in a way that it was done like 100 years ago. It's the same. It hasn't really changed. And our brains are wired differently. And consumption's happening through cell phones. And so if we have platforms as we're growing them and going to continue to grow, I think that then creates an opportunity to leverage those platforms and create courses for people.
Yep.
Right? And then that sort of helps us grow further, I think.
I think the courses are really great, especially because, you know, I'm someone who dropped out of high school and college.
Say that again. No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yes. And,
Okay, cool.
and I think that if there were more courses.
Isn't that fucking
you know
crazy,
what I mean?
though?
It
Look
would've-
how smart you
like,
are.
I'm still paying off my fucking student debt. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, that's annoying. Am I doing it just for a deduction on my tax returns? Maybe. But it's annoying. You know what I mean? And, and when it was funny because I get asked all the time, like, oh, what course in college did you take to become a mortgage broker?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, the thing is, if I would have known, I would have wasted all that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's quite literally you take the course for 1 week or 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Is that how it's like here too, by the way?
Yeah. And then you
That's
study and you take your exam and you move on to the next, you know?
Wow.
And I think that it's a little bit unfortunate that sometimes schools push you to like college, university, and the next step, whereas there are so many other options. There are so many other trade schools and specific things that you can learn, you know, and school is it's just not for everyone.
It's not,
just, you know.
man, fucking times have changed.
Yeah.
And that's becoming more and more obvious. And I hear about this, and our clients are a lot of these people. You know what I mean? People that got into a pile of student loan debt, got into a career that really doesn't really
fulfill them.
Yeah, for sure doesn't fulfill them.
Yeah.
Gives them this ball and chain. Like I know here, and it's similar somewhat to us. Like you can't forfeit that debt. It's with you forever, right?
I mean, it depends if you pay it off, you pay it off.
Yeah, no, but I mean, let's say you don't, like you're stuck, right? You could have ended up in some shitty job. The job market's not always particularly great. And so, yeah, it almost becomes a dead end. There has to be a different way. There has to be a better way. And I think that that's why opportunities like this and educating people and just telling people like, yo, you can make your own path.
What's also been really interesting, and I think that this is where I have been thriving in the non-traditional mortgage realm, is that more recently, the younger generation, high school dropouts, college dropouts, or just like the teens and early 20s, they have figured out how to make such passive income.
Yeah.
Whether it's creating content, you know what I mean? Whether it's doing their big brand deals, crypto, stocks, trading, all these things that were not really so common a couple of years ago, and has really allowed them to be a part of the economy in a whole new way. Because now they've got like big boy incomes and they're either buying houses and cars and investing in Airbnbs and doing things with their money.
Yeah.
And these people were not even considered to be bankable a couple of years ago, you know, and now they're coming to me because you guys need my creative help.
Let me ask you this. Sorry to interrupt, but
No,
you brought something up and it triggered something in my mind. I saw an article this week come out on Bloomberg, I think, and I think it was here in the U.S. First crypto-backed mortgage. Did you hear about that?
I did.
What's the story there? Do you know?
And no,
Okay.
no, we're gonna pretend you didn't ask me that.
Okay, we'll cut that. So basically, either way, we don't need to know the details. What we do know, the world's moving forward, and people are starting to understand that crypto and Bitcoin and things like that are a real thing. It's not bullshit, and it's not funny money. And banks are opening up to it, and financial institutions too.
They are.
And like you said, very good point, because it's not how it used to be. It's not wake up at 9 and go to work and kill yourself and come home late and just fucking basically do what you got to do to make a paycheck. You could really build a life now, and you could be someone young. And I see these people like that. I got what do you call them? What generation are they? Z?
Gen Z.
Z? Fuck, see, Canadian.
Yeah.
But I see them
Gen
and I'm
Z.
like, Z? How do you guys say it?
Gen Z.
Z. Z. Yeah.
That's what the kids call it.
Yeah. So those
I'm a
guys,
millennial. Let's not get confused
Same
with
here.
the pink hair. Yeah.
Okay. But that's cool. I like that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I feel like it's just a crazy time because the opportunities are everywhere.
Yes.
And I feel that even for someone like yourself, but let's back up for a second. We started to talk about where you got to, where you came from, stuff like that. I always like to ask this question. What's the big picture? Yeah, that's right. I'm putting you on the spot.
No, I know. And, people ask me that all the time.
Do they?
But yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, some people go like, oh, like, what's next? What does 5 years look like? But
What's the passion? What makes you like, what kind of like catches your heart? Like, where are you going?
honestly, just in the last few months alone, the type of business transactions that I'm doing have become so much more complex.
Okay.
Before, I felt like I was more so mortgage broker, residential, financing, da 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 da. Now it's more so like I have clients that ask me for, to cash out their entire portfolio of real estate so that they can buy restaurants and then take that money and do construction and do all these amazing things. And so that is kind of what really motivates me to wake up every day, to get on the phone with CEOs of banks and like big investors and clients and put these very complex deals together that are not your average.
Brush your shoulders.
Just no big deal.
There you go.
But it
Said
allows,
it so nonchalant, by the way.
But the thing is, like it allows me to remind myself like there's so much bigger out there. And it's not just I'm a mortgage broker doing, deals, and then hiring new agents and then allowing them to do what I was doing a couple years ago and taking on all of those organic clients that are still reaching out to me every day that want, a regular mortgage. And I'm able to like then, feed those to new agents, train them a new way.
So you're sort of basically looking to create a marketing. I mean, it is. Right? Because what you've done and what you've created, the brand, which you are the brand, and I always say that and I believe it, right? You can just look at Elon Musk. I mean, Tesla's never done a commercial. They're worth $1 trillion. So that's cool. But basically now you're getting to a point where you're driving in business based on the creative stuff that you've been doing. And then you could pass that business off and sort of scale to a larger level.
Correct.
Okay. So do you want to stay in the industry long term? Or is there a creative direction that you're looking to take everything?
The creative for me is more just an extension of who I am. And I've never put the creative in priority. Which just means like if it works, it works. Actually, in the last month, I haven't even posted on TikTok in over a month. And I just barely posted, I think like 3 or 4 videos on Instagram this month. So for me, the creatives, like, I've always said from the very beginning, and I've said this in every interview, like the creative, the social is just an extension of who I am.
Right.
So, with with what we do with work, sometimes you're busier than other times. So like when it works. But I don't know. I don't really have like a plan for what I see the future. I just know that every day is different and I'm excited for every day because I know it just brings new opportunities.
I think as long as you're on sort of your most authentic path and you're your authentic self.
But it's mortgages for life for me. If
that
that was the question.
Are we going to tattoo that across our stomachs? You let me know. I'm down for that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get matching.
For life,
bam.
with like an interest rate instead
No
of one of the letters. That's cool. Okay, so it sounds like the creative stuff is just more so to help elevate the mortgage stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the creative stuff. Like what I do is like it's a whole thing, So it's like if I don't have the creative stuff, then it's not me. So the creative will always be there. Yeah. It's just never really been a priority. So people ask me like, am I gonna have a media company? Am I gonna have a show or this or that? I don't know.
That's
if it happens, it happens.
Is that what you want though?
I am open to everything. Like if someone comes to me, they want to do a reality TV show, I'm like, let's go.
There's a lot of action that we could show in this business.
I'm sure. And when I try to like live my life every day as if I am on a show, like, I want every day to be entertaining and different and traveling and partying and networking. Like it's great. It's a great life. But I really, really, really try to live in the moment, in the present, and I don't think of the future because for me, if I can live really well in the present, then that will allow the future to just, happen. So
wow.
Yeah.
Deep. Just thought of that.
Gandhi, in the flesh.
What the fuck? Okay. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
All right. I think we basically covered as much as we could.
Yeah.
I don't think we left anything out. And of course, like, follow her content, follow her pages, and definitely, you know, learn from her and use her as a resource because it's out there, it's free, and it's available, and that's what we got to do. And we're here to help one another. And so just do me a favor, just put out all the platforms you're on, because I know you're on all of them. Just let everybody know. I want to send as many people your way.
Sure. It's at The Real Queen Margot on all of your favorite social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Clubhouse. That's about it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing.
Is that enough?
Honestly, man, I could barely juggle like 2 of them. So the fact that you're on like all those, I'm like, dude, that's good. Yeah, that's perfect.
You gotta be everywhere these days.
That's the hard part, the juggling.
Yep.
Like working, but then at the same time doing this stuff. So I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do, but all right, amazing. Thanks again. I think we'll do this until like an annual thing maybe.
For sure.
We're now on the second
annual
anniversary.
checkup.
Yeah, see how things are.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Very
you for having
excited for
me.
this. And yeah, can't wait for everybody else to watch it. So thanks again.